Hey everyone, welcome back. This is the Ball and Breakfast podcast. I'm Patrick Miller alongside Wayne Pua. First and foremost, continue to show that great support that we've gotten all across social media and the podcasting channels that we're on, especially Anchor. We'd love your subscriptions there. They really help us, drive any sort of further awareness, move ourselves up in rankings, possibly monetize as well. So if you do that there and also over on YouTube, the more subscriptions, follows, likes, the better. Even your comments are great. We love to hear what you guys have to say and kind of weave it into our show and our thinking here. With all that being said, we've got a list of topics to go over today, touching on all three professional sports. But first and foremost, we're going to cover a couple of men that have, led amazing lives, personally and professionally in the sports of basketball and baseball. And those two gentlemen are Bill Russell and Vin Scully, who is the former announcer of the Los Angeles Dodgers. First off, I know, Wayne, you posted something recently on your own story touching on Bill Russell and, outside of an amazing career where he won championships and was the face of the Celtics in the civil rights era, he also, grew up in a time of heavy discrimination, segregation, just issues all across, the racial front. But, what would you like to say about Bill, or, any stories or thoughts that you have about his life and legacy?
Yeah, no, that's a great, I think that's a great setup. I mean, yeah, he's a winner on the court just as much, if not more than, more than anybody really, right? In terms of the championships, 5 MVPs, 11 championships out of 13 seasons, coached 2 of them when he was a player coach, first African-American coach in any major leagues as well. So 2 college championships, Presidential Medal of Freedom, marched with Martin Luther King Jr., was there like front row center during the I Had a Dream speech, and stood up, against the U.S. government with Muhammad Ali in terms of, being drafted during the Vietnam War. So was front and center with regards to civil rights, as well as being a winner on the basketball court. So I think he is also highly respected in today's basketball and NBA community. You watch any interviews or any interactions he has with any of today's NBA stars, and they have nothing but great things to say about him. And they all just digest anything that he says with regards to life and just the sheer joy that he has. Everybody knows his laugh, it's just full of pure joy. And during any type of dark times that he definitely went through, it's like, how can this guy possibly be laughing? But then he's laughing and he's having so much joy in his life right now. So it's amazing that he lived an amazing life, larger than life in terms of personality and aura and essence, and just an overall great human being who's battled through a lot. I think I remember, I think it was his daughter posted on social or had a story about how Bill Russell, this was during when he was winning for the Celtics, right? It was in Boston, and he somebody defecated on in his bed, basically, right? And and then there became this whole thing of, well, why doesn't Bill Russell doesn't like Boston, or doesn't like going back to Boston? He lives in Mercer Island, actually, which I've spent some summers there, Mercer Island in Washington. So it's he had, the only time he basically returned to Boston was because they erected a statue for him. So it's the city of Boston essentially and the Celtics had to erect a statue just for, it's kind of a make amends, like a peace offering for Bill Russell there. So it was very much a love-hate relationship, them offering that kind of peace offering of a statue, and how they were able to make amends now. So it was nice to see all that, towards the end of times for him. But yeah, so I think I've said enough in terms of Bill Russell. Would love to hear you, Pat, your thoughts on his legacy that he left.
Yeah, I actually recently been looking into content on Bill Russell since his passing, and I think a couple of stories kind of stand out with me as far as the type of guy he was and how he was kind of molded by his mother, and just how he kind of reacted to situations. I always think he took the class act route, and part of that was his roots in Louisiana, heavy segregation in those communities throughout the civil rights era. His mom, when he was real little, told him not to go out on the front yard and always play in the backyard just to kind of stay away from any sort of trouble out on the streets. And he got to a certain age, I think he said it was like 6 or 7 years old, where his mom's like, okay, now you can go out on the lawn, play outside. But if anybody happens to drive by or walk by or whatever, just, if they have anything directed in your, face, if they say anything to you, nasty comments, this or that, ignore them. Basically, understand that it's their problem, not yours. So any sort of hatred coming out of them is their own issue, or issues to kind of work out themselves. So it kind of transitioned later in life when you said he was a player coach. I guess they had 13 guys, walking into a season one year, and one of them was a player out of Duke University named Art Heyman. And Bill basically looked at his roster and said, unfortunately, this is the last guy, on the bench. I got to cut the guy. And apparently the guy, got cut and went on a tirade of just a bunch of N-bombs and just other, derogatory comments, just, screaming at Bill Russell about, how he's wrong and, how he's this, and that. And Bill didn't say anything. He just sat there, and it's not that, he was welcoming these kinds of comments, but again, it was kind of like that attitude or behavior instilled in him by his mother to say, this is just going to look bad on Art at the end of the day, which it ultimately did. He lost a job as it was, never really became much outside of, being a Boston Celtic. So it wasn't like, Bill ever made the wrong choice. It was just, he went with his gut and who he thought was the best player. But, I think that's kind of how I see Bill in one way, just his ability to kind of endure and look past, idiots in our world and just people that, don't have any sort of, culture or kind of, manners or anything else like that. I mean, it's very simple, but it's, just people that just don't have a lot of class. So that was one part. The second part was a story about him going to an exhibition with a bunch of teammates in Lexington, Kentucky. And they got to the hotel, and another roommate of his was also African-American, decided to go downstairs at this hotel, get a meal right before the game. And he comes back up to the hotel room not too long after, and Bill's in there, and he just said, Bill's like, why didn't you get your food? Where's your food? And he's like, oh, they wouldn't serve me downstairs. So, Bill kind of took a second to process things, and then, picked up the phone, and he called the local airlines. I think he said something like Eastern Airlines or something in that time. But he basically asked them, do you have any flights out of Lexington today? They had a game slated at like 7:00 at night, but they came back and said, yeah, we got a flight to Boston, Washington, or Chicago. And he's like, I'll take any of them. I don't really care. Just get me out of here. And so they kind of booked him a flight. And then the guy across from him, his roommate, was like, are you seriously going to leave? And he's like, yeah, I'm going to leave. He's like, all right. And he's like, you want to come with me? He's like, he got back on the phone. He's like, make that 2 tickets. And I think a couple more teammates came in the room and heard the story. And he's like, all right, make that 4 tickets. So he started to like get guys ready to leave, Lexington because of this issue. And Red Auerbach essentially found out, or they called each other or whatnot. And Red's like, what can I do to make you guys, stay? Because I heard you're planning to leave tonight. And Bill's like, nothing, honestly, nothing. And I guess Red called the owner of the hotel, who was also the owner of the basketball team they were playing the next day for this exhibition. And the owner basically said that, I called down to the restaurant. You guys are all welcome to eat down there. And, that'll be the end of segregation in the restaurant. And Bill, basically was like, nope, no, that's not good enough. And, basically Red was like, all right, goes back, talks to the owner again. The owner's like, you can come up to my suite and, have this luxurious meal on me and come, meet me at my suite or this and that. And Bill's like, he basically told Red, I don't give an F who the hell this guy is. And, in those times, I mean, I don't know what the wealth disparity was between an owner and player, but I'm sure it was pretty significant. And, Bill just basically stood on his laurels and was just like, I don't care what it is, but, by us leaving tonight, we're going to send like a huge message to, that owner, that restaurant, Lexington, Kentucky, that, we're just not going to take it. And, Red ultimately, even in those times, pretty much had a laugh about it. It was like, didn't push him on it or anything. He's just like, all right, Bill, I'll see you back in Boston. So I just thought, it's just like those two anecdotes and kind of hearing the praise that like President Biden gave him and all the players you were talking about just throughout the NBA and sports. It's like this guy was kind of walking on water for his time. So, tribute to Bill. It seems like a great man, is behind us now, but his legacy will live on forever.
Yeah, I think the one key thing is leader, right? He led both, on the field and then also off the basketball court, his team. So, you talked about that incident in Kentucky as well as what he was able to do on the basketball court. A lot of people talk about championships and those 11 championships, like there were only 8 NBA teams and how that affects his legacy. He almost had a perfect career, 11 out of 13 NBA seasons. So he had that and won 2 NCAA championships, which was kind of a big deal back then, more so. But the Celtics never won a championship before Bill. Like people forget about that. And and then his relationship, and he basically set up the team with all the players that he left behind for the next iteration of great Boston Celtics, eventually Dave Cowens and all that in the 70s. So like his legacy lives on. Celtic pride. You automatically think about Bill Russell, so it's hard not to think about him as like one of the top 5 greatest or one of the greatest of all time. Even considering his era and how he's able to just not just win, but dominate. He's also a 5-time MVP too. So he wasn't like he was some sort of, Robert Horry type of contributor or anything like that. He was the best player on the best team for 11 out of 13 seasons there. So, and his legacy off the basketball court, like, man, I liked how you touched that, because it's kind of like how Jackie Robinson also approached things. I think they both had that concerted effort. It's almost kind of Buddhist, actually. Now that I think about it, it's like I'm not allowing you to hurt me. Like I have the power to just be like, I don't care. Like that's right. I'm just gonna go this way, and you're gonna go that way, and that's it. So yeah. So I really admire that. I really admire that. I think out of Bill Russell and everything he's able to accomplish, how he just handles himself. He has that aura, that mystique, that just, this guy's a leader for what, when you want to build up for a franchise. So, yeah.
And it seemed like he was the only one in that era who was like the Wilt Chamberlain stopper. It always sounded like, Wilt could just, obviously the 100 points and probably average like 50 a game or something. I don't know how many seasons he was able to do that, but it always sounded like in that era, the only time he wasn't able to do that was when Bill Russell was on the floor. So I thought that was, pretty impressive too for his time. I mean, just his posture about everything, like you're saying. I mean, in an era where he followed Martin Luther King, who was very outspoken, but also, preached kindness. And you have, a guy like Muhammad Ali, who also, stood for peace, but, obviously was, just very quotable too. And just kind of contrasting from like the Stoli Carmichaels or Malcolm X as well. So it's kind of like, just appreciate his approach. And the last thing I wanted to at least throw out there from his Lexington time and kind of an observation made, just a quote that he put out there I thought was really good. But he's like, apologies to him are shaky. He said, because people aren't sorry for what they did. They're sorry about the reaction to what they did. And I just thought that was like pretty deep, because it's like, we all apologize for things. And I think genuinely sometimes people are, actually sorry for doing something that, maybe crossed wires or something like that. But I thought that was pretty telling, because I think there are a lot of times where people apologize for something, but they're not actually sorry about the action. They're just more or less sorry that, people reacted in a certain way. So thought that was really cool. But I think Bill Russell's pretty cool.
Yeah, he was probably referring to that with the Boston Celtics and in the city of Boston, his relationship with them. So, but
pretty much.
Yeah. But and I know, we lost another big icon in the baseball world, right? With Vin Scully, 94 years old, one of, I would probably say like the greatest storytellers in all of sports. 67 seasons calling games, right? Like, could you imagine doing any job for 67 seasons? That's crazy. I'm like counting the days to retirement, right? So,
you and me both.
I know, like this is like the opposite of the whole FIRE movement, right? Like, no, I'm just gonna work 67 years and it's gonna be awesome. So, but yeah, he's obviously doing something he loves. He loves baseball. And there was definitely that transition. Like, this is how like back he's gone, is like he was during that transition of moving from radio to TV broadcasting, right? And some people struggled with that transition, but he was definitely young enough and innovative enough to be like, okay, here are the things I need to do in order to adapt towards that. And even some of the great commentators these days are TV announcers like Al Michaels, has been quoted in saying, like, I basically just copied him for the first couple of years of my career and kind of try to develop my own style there. But I think he's such an icon. Was there for Hank Aaron's record-setting homer. Was also there called Don Larson's perfect game of the World Series, and then also Kirk Gibson's that iconic calling for his World Series home run there too. And then just the sheer irony too that he grew up as a New York Giants fan. And then he calls games for several decades, right, for their arch rival. It was the Brooklyn Dodgers, then now the LA Dodgers. So really an iconic life, and great storyteller. We'll always loved his voice, hearing it wherever, just talking about anything, and just listening to him, even for a couple of decades as I've been on this earth. So. But yeah, Pat, have any thoughts on Vin Scully and his impact on baseball?
Yeah, what a career. Legendary voice. The Kirk Gibson call is just one of the most iconic calls I remember from old, MLB VHS tapes they used to buy as a kid and stuff like that. So it's just like can't believe what he just saw, which was pretty crazy with Kirk Gibson's injury and comeback and walk-off homer for that game. But I think with Vin Scully, I think the thing that stands out for me is the fact that he did pretty much a monologue every single game, and how he had enough to go on as both the play-by-play and color. I don't think we'll ever see it again. I don't know a sport or a podcast. There's just like, there's not many things these days that will require one person, standing, maybe stand-up comedy is the only thing I can think of as a comparison, but it's like, to think that you're on the stage for 3 hours to cover a baseball game, that's a lot of pressure. And you just got to be, smooth enough, articulate enough, have enough, in the well to go back to pull examples for players or statistics or whatever else. So again, tip my cap to him. I don't think he'll, be replaceable for the LA Dodgers in the announcing booth, or even across MLB. It's hard to find characters that'll lead the next generation in play-by-play. I like what the White Sox have now with Benetti. I think he's a class act. I like his voice, and I like his takes with Steve Stone. But I just looking around, it's like hard to know, like, is it A-Rod? Like, probably not. But what do you think? Like, do you have anything more to say about that?
I mean, I think you touched it. I think that's great points. Yeah, I do like Benetti. It is great that he's getting national recognition, right, for Benetti. It's great that he's calling like basketball games as well as baseball, getting national games as well. So I'm glad that people are able to listen to him, and I'm glad that the White Sox are like, hey, we have a great announcer. Let's get him out there. It only promotes really the White Sox in general, and it also promotes like Benetti just as somebody you want to listen to and call games. So, but yeah, no, I definitely agree. Like, how can anybody, like one person, just talk about a sport like baseball, which can definitely be slow moving, and have it not feel awkward? That's the whole thing with Vin Scully. He just dictated that really well. Was very articulate. You never felt rushed. You just felt like time was kind of sitting still. And he was telling that story, or any of his stories really, and you just felt like you were kind of at peace and at home, just being in the aura. He really matched the aura of baseball, I think, and he definitely will be missed. But yeah, so I guess transition towards, speaking of Benetti and the White Sox and the team that, we're both wearing hats for and everything. They did make a trade, for reliever Jake Diekman, and have, that was basically it. And I know Rick Hahn was like, yeah, that's all we did. Sorry, guys. type of thing there, right? So yeah, just I guess I'd like to hear what your thoughts, Pat, on where they sit now. What are your, do you think that they'll make a push for the postseason? Are they good enough to make that run, or where do you think they are right now?
I think they're in a good place. I don't think they're in a great place with Tim Anderson hitting the shelf now for 4 to 6 weeks. I mean, again, it goes back to our narrative about the White Sox this entire year. It's like you got your lineup. I think we were all excited for the Rangers series. We had our lineup, and then it's just like that happens. So it's like, I don't know. It's another gut punch, but I still think we're in this race. I like our rotation just about as much as anyone in the AL Central. The Twins actually seem to be trending down since the All-Star break. They've allowed us and the Guardians to get back in it. I think the Guardians are tied up top with the Twins, but guys like Joe Ryan are starting to fade a little bit. I mean, they're younger starters. They don't have the endurance or the experience to kind of put together a full season as of yet. I mean, the potential's there, but that's been issue one. Guardians, I just don't think they have as much thump as we potentially do. The problem is I always talk about the potential, and it's like our offense has really been holding us back. Not driving in guys when we have, second and third, 0 out, 1 out. We had a bases loaded situations, tonight against the Royals with 1 out, didn't score a run. So those have been kind of the big problems I see. Base running we've talked about in the past, but before we hopped on here, we talked about a couple of the bright spots. Why don't you kick it off in terms of those bright spots and other things you like about the Sox, and also maybe what you think as the final situation with the AL Central this year among those 3 teams.
Yeah, no, I think I definitely like the bright spots of Johnny Cueto, where I was like, oh, he's still around. He's not firmly retired or anything like that. I was like, okay, that's good. Former I remember him pitching in with the Giants and Reds several years ago and everything. I was like, oh yeah, he's definitely much more of a finesse type of pitcher. So I think those type of players tend to last a little bit longer. So, glad that we were able to pick him up, and he's definitely been a big contributor. Dylan Cease, obviously, he ought to have been a Cy Young All-Star and get all the accolades. And was it pitched at least 6 innings, 1 runs, a bunch of Ks and stuff like that, more than any player in history of baseball or something like that. Yeah, just been a stud for us this season. And Abreu's played really well. His on-base percentage, you always kind of look at the on-base percentage versus the batting average. He's definitely been a lot more disciplined at the plate this season. But kind of apart from that, though, in the lineup, really, there just hasn't been too many players showing up or just been healthy. I think that's been the whole thing, with Tim Anderson, right? So, those have been, I think, the unfortunate things so far. Yeah, Guardians and Twins, teams that I think both of us maybe they could make a run here for sure. Even though we were both pretty optimistic on the White Sox entering the season, maybe not as much at the moment, but yeah, Guardians. If I had to pick between the Guardians and the Twins where they're at right now, and versus the White Sox, I want to say the White Sox, man. Let's get this going, right? We're only, I think, 1.5 games back at the moment to date. So, again, for whatever reason, it's whether we want to blame La Russa or just the players and how they're being managed, and nobody's really staying up to be a leader and holding each other accountable, all of that, we're kind of maybe, hey, we have enough talent just to maneuver ourselves into the playoff piece. I'm hoping that's the case. I'm still hoping that's the case. If I did have to pick, I guess, between Guardians and the Twins to upseed us going into the second half, I don't know. I did pick the Twins as my dark horse, so I might go with them. That being said, Jose Ramirez is like kind of an MVP in a way, so, but yeah, those are my initial thoughts. Yeah. Would love to hear what you think, Pat.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with your bright spots on our team. I think Andrew Vaughn's another guy who's just put up a great sophomore campaign. I love what's going to come for him in his future with the White Sox. I hope we hold on to him. I hope we extend him at some point. I hope we don't toss him in a trade needlessly for, some sort of starting pitcher or something next year. I think they know that too. I think they know he's a core part of this foundation, especially with Abreu kind of at the tail end of his career. So hopefully, Vaughn can take up first base in the future and be that guy that we, need as a cornerstone. But he's already proving himself this year. I think, just looking at bats like Moncada and Grandal, I mean, there's just been huge disappointments. I mean, we're counting on those guys to, bat over 250, be on base, 35% of the time, if that, 20 home runs, 80 RBIs, something of the sort. And they've given us really none of that, whether it's due to injuries or, prolonged slumps or just, maybe just showing that this is, at least for Moncada, I feel like Grandal's already had like an established, floor for himself, and he's really underperformed that. But Moncada, it's tough because some years it's like he shows you all the upside, and then he'll come back with like a clunker of a season where he's injured and he bats like 250 and stuff and doesn't really put up a lot of power. So it's like, it's just, it's kind of head scratching when I look at the team, but, the momentum and like you said, with the leadership it's tough to gauge because, we go into a series, with the Rangers and, I think we had won a couple, if we did not split in Colorado, I think we won that series. I want to say we split in 2. Then we go to Texas and we split there. And now we're with the Royals and we're splitting there. So it's just like, these are some teams that if you're a division winner, you've got to be winning, 3 of 4, 2 of 3, 2 of 2. I mean, you've got to start turning it up and showing us like you can get hot and get on a streak. And they just haven't done that. My gut, honestly, like I think the Guardians and the Sox look a lot alike this year, and they shouldn't have. The Sox should be such a better offensive team than that team, but it's kind of like with the Guardians, they're similar in that they're pretty top heavy with guys, like you said, a Jose Ramirez, or they've had Andres Jimenez break out, Ahmed Rosario's broken out, Owen Miller kind of tailed off after the second half or whatever, but it's like they're a little top heavy in their offense, but their pitching is really good with Bieber, McKenzie, Plesac gets the job done. It just seems like they can go a little bit deeper in their rotation than us at the moment. And they've got, Clase at the end of the, bullpen, just kind of like closing everything out. Probably one of the best relievers in baseball. So I don't know. They just look like a team that's a little bit more motivated to win this year, to take it. I might have to like choose the Guardians, unfortunately, but I don't think that we're out of it. I don't think we're going to tail off and just crumble. I think it's going to be like, maybe we end up 4 or 5 games over 500 and the Guardians are 7 or 8. And it's just like, all right, well, that was the big climax of this year, the AL Central. And then, whatever team gets into the playoffs are going to be like a first round exit. So yeah, I don't know, man. All that said, I still, really like our core. We need a lot of work to be done, I think, after this season, just kind of like reassess and retool. But I still think we have too many good players and pieces to just say, hey, our run is over,
Yeah, no, I agree. And my hope is that, yeah, the White Sox just get hot. We've been like, oh, hey, maybe we should try now type of thing. And then all of a sudden, carry a lot of momentum going into the postseason and win the World Series, right? Just like go all, barely 500, make the squiggle our way into the playoffs. And then just, I mean, we have the talent. We have just as much talent. Even when we didn't really make any big trades during the trade deadline, like we have all the talent or potential. I know we've tossed that word a bunch. Potential talent, just to show to show up and everything and win games. But they just haven't. I think there was like a meme of like, or a joke on Twitter. It was like, oh yeah, what would happen if Juan Soto like joined the White Sox? It's like, oh, he'd probably be batting like having OPS under 700 and like, like not bat any runs and stuff like that. Like there's something with our aura right now, or the baseball gods just hate us for whatever be. But it's like, hey, maybe Mokana can get hot. Maybe we do all of a sudden start to get a little bit more healthy, right? Which kind of been doing, and then we hit the Tim Anderson thing, right? Which has been a bummer, but I think it's like 6 weeks, so it's like he would be basically coming back like September-ish, right? So right when we're trying to make that push. So if that's the case, then okay, we'll take it. We'll take it, and hopefully, the pitching and bullpen stick together, and the hitting comes. Eloy's been raking it more so of late, so if he can maintain that momentum heading into the postseason, and people just get on base for him to knock in. So like then potentially, the White Sox could make a case for the playoffs, but it's really hard. Like I feel like it's they're going to have a disappointing season no matter what. But if they're able to make it the playoffs and make a run for, hey, because like if you make the playoffs, that's all that matters. I feel like in baseball, and then you can kind of go from there. Home field advantage, White Sox have a better record away right now, so maybe it's overrated for the White Sox for whatever reason. Or the home cooking just isn't as good for I don't know. So there's something that's just odd about this baseball team that I'm like, something to me is like it's kind of like our economy. I don't know. It's like, is it good? Is it bad? Like, I don't know. We're still in it. So, there hasn't been anybody that's just smashed the button that's like this season, this economy is done, over with or whatever. Right. So I feel like, that's, I think the best of analogy as I can get there. So, but I want to be optimistic, but it's hard to cheer for this season right now. So,
I mean, to a lesser extent, they're kind of, this past season's version of the Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, I don't think the expectations maybe were as high as what the Lakers had going into the year. I mean, we did think definitely playoffs. I mean, we were contemplating World Series when we had that preseason predictions episode, still available online if you want to check that out. But with the Lakers, it was just kind of like they completely, kind of gassed out. And all along, as we were going through that season, we're like, okay, they're towing around 500. They're towing around 500. They're towing around 500. And it was just like, is this Lakers team ever going to really take off? I mean, they got AD, they got LeBron, they got Westbrook, but it was like the combination of the three didn't really work out together. Then you'd have, injuries for extended periods to, LeBron and AD. So it's kind of like, I kind of feel like we're in those same shoes where it's just like, we think we're good, we think we're great. And then it's just like, but in reality, we got to kind of accept reality at some point. We're almost halfway through August. Again, we still have a puncher's chance. We're not even 2 games out of first place, which is just ludicrous, to be honest with you. But it's like, I don't know. I'm just going with my gut. I think again, it's going to be really close, but it's just been a disappointing year to say the least.
Yeah. Do you think the White Sox pick somebody up either at shortstop or wherever for like Tim Anderson, just for like the month, or like, just wondering, who do you think, or do you think, what's his name? Just hit a homer. Was it yesterday or something like that?
Lennon Sosa.
Yeah. Lennon Sosa.
Yeah.
Sosa on the White Sox. Are we going to trade him again or what? So
never traded Sosa twice. I mean, any smart man knows that. But no, I saw Didi Gregorius got released by the Phillies. He would be a veteran minimum contract, a guy who obviously hit 20 plus bombs year after year with the Yankees. He is in his early 30s, so maybe his range is a little lackluster at this point at shortstop, or his hitting he was around 220, I think, when they got released. Not a lot of pop for the Phillies, and I think he got basically released in favor of Bryson Stott, who's a younger shortstop for them. But the only other guy I was thinking was on the other side of town, the north side, Andrelton Simmons. Great defender in his prime, obviously like one of the best. But I don't know if his defensive chops are still at that kind of elite level. His hitting tool he's probably under 200 at this point too. It's just kind of like, do you just want to throw, a veteran in there just to, bring some more experience, or, just see if they've got anything left in the tank? Like, I'm kind of fine with that. If you want to sign Didi and just like split time with Lennon, that's fine. But I'm encouraged by what Lennon's shown so far. I mean, in the high minors, he was batting, 315 with a, near 400 OBP, and he had some power and some speed, and he was really young, and it's like, why not just give him a shot and see what he can do? I mean, it's kind of sink or swim at this point for our entire team, but we just need to bring some energy and life into a team that just looks like it's, just running out of gas. I mean, Lance Lynn's been a complete nightmare, and I'm still kind of holding out hope. I mean, he actually was born on the exact same day as me in the exact same year. So we were like birthday twins. He's 35 years old, but it's like, I'd like to think there's like a couple more good seasons left in him, and this is just totally not him.
Yeah, no, I like those two picks, Angleton and Didi. Yeah, would I have wished it was like 4 years ago or something? Yeah, right. But hey, we'll take him right now. Angleton, yeah, his range. He doesn't have the same range. Like, I remember just like he was like the one player you would just watch YouTube clips of someone's defense, and it was like, this is amazing, right? So, but yeah, it just doesn't have that range anymore, and is not the same hitter. So it's like, maybe we do just take a fly on that. But I'm definitely open to, like, hey, let's see what this kid Lennon Sosa's got. Just check out his numbers. Yeah, hit pretty well out of Birmingham. It was at 330 out of 62 games there. So, pretty solid numbers, 14 homers, 48 RBIs. So, hey, if we can get a facsimile of that, great. And then, for at least a month until basically Tim Anderson comes back. So, yeah, I'm definitely open to all that, the competition, just having somebody to, get some options there, and hopefully the other pieces around him, start to pick up with Moncada. I don't know if Yasmani can at all, or Grandal. So if he can just get to maybe 200 or whatever, yeah, that'd be great. Or have like 400 OBP, whatever. But yeah, I'm open to both of those moves, I think. And then, yeah, any other pitching help we can get from the other starters too would be great to not make it Leon Cease and Johnny Cueto essentially right now. So, yeah.
For sure. There was a lot more going on in the MLB a few weeks ago at the trade deadline. Obviously, you caught it. You saw the big move, Soto going on over to Padres for just a huge package of prospects and some pro players. But what did you think of that deal? Or were there any other deals that stood out to you as being potentially really impactful for any team that's kind of heading into the postseason this year? Kind of that missing piece that they were looking for.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll answer like the teams that I think made a great trades. I kind of was wondering, but also was kind of excited about the Yankees in a way. I think the one thing was the Bader trade, right? I don't know if you saw that. It was like Bader for Montgomery. Montgomery has like a really he's had a really good year. I think it's like a 3.3 some odd ERA, which Yankee Stadium, that's really solid. And then traded him for Bader, and I'm like, wait, what are they gonna do with Bader and all? But Bader's a really good defensive player. And so I think they could certainly utilize his range, with Stanton kind of more so being DHing and, Judge, and kind of filling out the outfield a little bit more there. So I think that's solid. And then they also got Benintendi, I believe, too, right? So, I think those are great pickups. Their pitching has been solid, I think, so much so that they felt comfortable getting rid of Montgomery. So I kind of like what they did, and I think they were my pick to go to the World Series or the playoffs, I believe, or win that division, and they're definitely heading in that direction. So I'm excited about the Yankees and kind of what they were able to do and getting more range in the outfield for themselves there. So But then, yeah, the big blockbuster of Juan Soto, right? I think I was actually excited to see also Bell going over to the Padres too. He's on my fantasy team, but I know, yeah, Padres, yeah, not always like they're not always well known for like being the most hitter friendly ballpark, but you know, with that squad, I think he'll get more RBIs maybe and all that. So I think that was a great trade for the Padres, in my opinion. They definitely got rid of some, you know, was it Mackenzie Gore, right? And some other players like that are like either major league ready or like highly touted prospects. And I think we were talking about this before. It's like they are going to get Juan Soto for several seasons. And then they also got Bell for, you know, actually I don't know his contract, but they got Bell too. He's a really solid first baseman there. And they got rid of Hosmer, right? So, you know, I think that those were great moves. Bell is having a great season. Juan Soto's Juan Soto, so he's going to do his thing there, and he's kind of already, you know, making a little bit of a ruckus there too, doing his whole his dance and everything at some pitchers. So, making a ruckus over at the NL, so at the NL West. So, I think it was a good solid overall trade. It was definitely it was a pretty steep price, but and I think if I'm the Padres though, like, hey, if you're gonna take a swing, and that now might be a good time to do it, with Machado and Tatis, like, you know, with where they are at their careers, why not build off, you know, this core right here, on top of the pitching that they have. So definitely a ballsy move, but I'm kind of like, hey, why not? I think it makes sense for them. So
yeah, it's the right time to make a decision that massive. You know, it's the counter to what we've said about the Bears with the, you know, Trubisky trade and the you know, Khalil Mack trade at the time. It's kind of like, well, you're selling the farm for a chance to be a playoff team. And it's like that's not the goal. The goal is to win it all and to, you know, to do some real damage once you get to October. So to me, I saw that deal as a win-win. Obviously, the Nationals, you wanted Soto to be a part of your mix, you know, forever. But he said no. And for obvious reasons we covered on the last episode. You know, I think the package itself, though, is just like, it's incredible. And every analyst that I've listened to is talking about the pieces that, you know, came back to Washington in this deal. They all said that every single minor leaguer is going to touch the pros. I mean, that's something that like hardly any analyst is going to kind of guarantee for you. But, you know, just going through some of them, you know, CJ Abrams is a shortstop. You know, he's a first-round pick. He's 21 years old. He's already sniffed the majors. Just a good average OBP guy. He's got some speed. He's kind of the centerpiece in this deal. They got Robert Hassel back as well. He's a 20-year-old left-handed hitting outfielder, another first-round pick with some pop and speed. You know, he grades out pretty high in the top 100 prospects. I think he's within like the top 20 or so. They got Mackenzie Gore, who, you know, we're familiar with. We've covered on the last you know, couple shows when we talked about MLB awards. I mean, he was in the mix for the Rookie of the Year conversation before, you know, hurting his elbow a little bit. He's 23 years old. He's a first-round pick too. He put up a 4.50 ERA this year, and that ERA I don't think is truly representative of what he's kind of given the Padres, because a lot of his, you know, clunker of starts came when he had, you know, some injury concerns. So I think he's got a bright future ahead once he gets you know, through that issue. And then there were two guys that were pretty much no-namers that, you know, nobody would really think about, but they got a 19-year-old kid named James Wood, who's an outfielder. He stands 6'7". He batted 300 in the minors and hit, I think it was 11 home runs and 200 at bats. But they say this guy's got, you know, incredible power. I think he was a second-round pick too, but just like a really bright, you know, future ahead. They project him to be a pro player. And then they got a kid named Harleen Susana, who is 18 years old. He has 48 Ks and 31 innings in the minors. They say he touches 100 as a reliever. I mean, 100 plays in the major leagues, no matter what your ERA is coming out of the minors. So, and last but not least, they got Luke Voigt, 31-year-old serviceable, you know, first baseman. He's controllable till the end of 2024. He led the MLB in home runs in the shortened 2020 season. He was just looking for an opportunity to play every day. I think that was the reason why he got pissed. You know, when he was platooning with Rizzo with the Yankees and now Hosmer with the Padres, it's just like, he's basically saying, like, give me my opportunity. And yeah, his production's kind of wavered over that time period since 2020, but in the same sense, I mean, there's still some juice left in him, I think, and you put him in the middle of the Nats order as they continue to grow. I think he's just a guy you can use as a trade chip down the road too, and get maybe like another prospect or two. So, think Juan Soto and, for Josh Bell, he's going to be free after this year. So it's just a 2022 rental, but Bell, obviously, like you said, Bell's extremely productive player, will be awesome for them in the postseason. It's like you walk away from that whole deal and you basically see Soto going for 5 first or second round MLB picks. That's what it cost at the end of the day. And when we talked about, the biggest trade, the NBA history, the one that kind of like blew everyone's mind with Gobert and being 4 first round picks, Soto got you 5. So, we talked about the Durant scenario in the last episode. Again, check it out on our podcasts or wherever else you're going to find it, but, our channels or whatnot. But, it's just mind blowing, and I think that's what the analysts came away from. Obviously Soto in the middle of the Padres order, and like you said, the pitching depth is there. They even got Josh Hader in a trade that I actually didn't really like for the Padres, but I mean, just long term speaking. But for now, I think that's the right move. That's a team that can win it. I mean, that's a team that can win it all. They got to get in, and they got to beat the Dodgers, who have just had their number. But they did good on themselves too.
Yeah, for sure. I think that sets them up really well. They haven't won a World Series, right? They haven't won a World Series. So I think ownership's like, and they have a really great stadium. So like, they have all these combinations of things that's working for, like, they do have an exciting team and everything. Great stadium, but I think ownership, or hey, kudos to them. They're like, we haven't won a World Series yet, so let's go win a World Series now. Who should we get? Juan Soto? All right, let's go Juan Soto. We got to get him. Okay, that's a little bit steep, but we'll do it. And so I think I'm glad that they're going all in. Hader's a good pickup too. I forgot who he got traded for, but I think I read an analysis where they're both lefties, kind of similar like ERAs and innings pitched and all that. So
Taylor Rogers.
Yeah, Taylor Rogers. That's right. But I know Hader definitely is like, I think he's made for Petco more so, right? So I think that he's just a better fit for them, especially heading into, I think, what looks to be possibly like a deep playoff run if they're able, to put everything together there. So I would be excited if I'm a Padres fan. Definitely much more excited than I'm a White Sox fan right now. So yeah.
Yeah, it was too bad with where the Sox are, if we made the move to get Soto, obviously probably jump out of our seats just in excitement overall. But, thinking about the cost, what would it cost us and where would it bring us to have a guy like Soto if we like emptied out whatever farm we had or whatever other like starting, maybe it would be an Andrew Vaughn situation plus, Cespedes, Colas, maybe, Kopech. I don't know who they'd want for Soto. It'd be massive. So it's like, it'd be a Chicago Bears situation, which, we've been trying. I think we should avoid. And I thought the Diekman move, although it's kind of lame and it was like, okay, we wanted more. And I think, getting a more athletic outfielder would have been nice, or, obviously maybe an infield replacement, because now we're dealing with minor leaguers or veterans and, up the middle. It's like, that would have been kind of nice. But I didn't hate the fact that we didn't like do a lot, because we are kind of cap strapped. And then we also just don't have like a lot of pieces or parts to like package for some real talent. And we're just kind of in a bad situation where all of our prospects graduated, which we've discussed, but it's just like, we don't have a lot of wiggle room. So I wasn't too surprised. And I like Diekman as a lefty setup guy.
Yeah, for sure. And, I definitely agree with that. It's like, and it's probably what Rick Hahn, like, there's been a lot of hate, I guess, on Rick Hahn about like, oh yeah, he didn't do anything. He kind of admitted himself like, yeah, sorry guys, we didn't do anything or whatever. So probably was disappointed. And I don't know if he, it's always that like, what were we in the Juan Soto race or whatever? But then that point of like, what are we going to get rid of? Right. Like, are we going to get rid of Luis Robert? Like, or I don't know what, like who do you want to get rid of? And then that's a hole there. So I don't know. And obviously the Padres just have more ammunition to get rid of. Like, they got rid of all these players, and then, oh yeah, by the way, they still have a lineup and pitching. So that, so they didn't get hurt too much. And then Tatis is going to be coming back. I think it's maybe within the next few weeks now, right? So it'll be interesting to see. Like the Padres were just better built, I think, to do this trade, which is why it happened. So I think it makes sense on their side. But yeah, back to the White Sox, I guess it is a little bit disappointing, but I think Rick Hahn, at least, he's probably, I'm hoping, he's definitely thinking probably long-term of like, we have all these assets, like we have, we've talked about this before, like they're so talented, like 1 through 9, right? But maybe some defensive liabilities here and there with like Andrew Vaughn in the outfield a little bit. I think he has like a minus ratio there for his defensive WAR. But other than that, like, we do have a talented team. It's just injuries and underperformance of anywhere near their potential has just been kind of inhibiting us a little bit. So
not to mention we're an historically cheap team when it comes down to it. It's not like we're handing out massive deals to, we didn't land Harper, we didn't land Machado. What would it cost us to land Soto for 10, 15 years? Like, we don't have that kind of money. So it's like, are we really playing for 2 to 3 years? Or if we're the White Sox, more equipped like a Minnesota Twins, Oakland A's, Tampa Bay Rays, maybe to a greater extent, we spend more than them. But it's kind of that thought process thing we're starting to transition in as a franchise. And honestly, I think Rick Hahn, although he traded Tatis for James Shields, which is probably one of the worst trades in MLB history, I think he's done a good job at getting us past the 2010, the 2010s, that whole era of just terrible baseball. I thought he made some great trades with the Red Sox, trade. I mean, Kopech, Moncada in that one, the one with Eaton where he got Dunning, Ronaldo Lopez, Giolito. He signed a lot of our rookies to extensions that are pretty controllable for us. I mean, little ballsy because we probably could have spent some of that money on some major league talent to go with them. But still, we locked those guys up past, the core prime years, which we wouldn't have done if they stayed on the rookie deals and we let them walk. So there are some things that he does right. I mean, I think there's some, innovative things that Hans brought to the table as a GM. I mean, I still, again, like, I think he didn't make moves because he's like, look, like, we're either going to sink or swim with this core and this whole roster that I put together. And, I know you guys want 1 or 2 or 3 more pieces, but we just can't mortgage more of our future. We don't have any money left. Like, I'm kind of stuck. And like, I need these guys who I paid to play the way that they're supposed to play to some of their averages. And you don't walk into a year expecting, again, Moncada, Grandal, Robert, Eloy Jimenez, Tim Anderson, to just, the output isn't there. If you look at all those guys, I mean, it's just the total output of what they were supposed to do just wasn't there.
Yeah, and that's definitely affected the season so far. And then it's like, definitely the optimist in this is like, we're only 1.5 games still out still. So
again,
like,
like
this is like can it get worse? Like, this is literally the worst like the White Sox could possibly be playing. Like, if you were to tell me that Moncada is going to be batting under 200 under the Mendoza line in August or whatever, like, I would be like, are you kidding me? Like, he's got a great swing, right? So like, something's got to give. I definitely want to say, like, the White Sox got to make a push, like, from the scientific law of averages, but good God, like, they're definitely pushing it right now. And, we both met Rick Hahn before, right? Like, previously, he seems like a pretty decent guy and all. But like, I don't blame Rick Hahn for, what's happened. I know there's been talk about that a little bit. But, given the variables, like given Reinsdorf and what everything he's, definitely been notorious for being a little, holding contracts back a little bit, so if that's who you're kind of dealing with and, those are the cards you're dealing with, but like, hey, I like how you did mention all these contracts and like, similar. I think basically the Braves, I think, copied what we were doing with regards to signing our young players, for extended periods of time, even though they didn't like have like a full season. It's like, we would rather pay $5 million or $8 million for a player that could potentially, like, in 5 years after their whole MLB service thing, right, ask for $20 million or $30 million, right? Like, get them under control there and they're gonna have maybe a little bit of loyalty staying with you because you showed them the money when they were young and a little bit more unproven. So, but yeah, I know right now it's like, all right, well, we gave you that money now, but can you show up a little bit more? So yeah,
and that's the difference. But I don't hate the approach, and it just kind of sucks when a guy gets like slaughtered because we didn't live up to like championship expectations this year. I mean, I'd get it if he just was like a dog of a GM and every year just like, God, like this guy's just completely, inept and he's leading us down the wrong way. But I like the approach. That's why I'm not like up in arms about Rick Hahn this year. It's like, there's just, it's just hard. It's hard to win. It's hard to create something like perfectly and then just have everything go according to plan. I mean, it's like, I think he's done his best job. Yeah.
Like it's definitely the struggle, I think, of thinking long-term versus, okay, I need to have a player right, tomorrow and everything. Kind of like, the whole like Chapman and, getting rid of Gleyber Torres, right? With the Cubs. There's definitely like all that. It's like, okay, 1-year rental, but we're going to get rid of our top prospect, but a closer, right, for the World Series, right? You want that. So I definitely get that whole, like, we want that impactful player, but if you got to think long-term too, and like, our budget basically can't add any more players there. So what else, we can't get a Juan Soto and ask, get all the money that he wants, and then also get rid of all the prospects and MLB ready players that the Padres would ask for. So I agree. As I guess boring as it is, sometimes boring is okay though. And hopefully, we do make a playoff run and win the World Series, and everybody plays up to their potential and gets healthy right at the end of the season. So that's all we can hope for, I think, right now as White Sox fans.
Right. Last thing, and already touched on, but that year that we traded for James Shields, we gave up Fernando Tatis, and we were in the kind of the same position that we are now, like a 500 team that even if they get into the playoffs, it's like, how good are we? Like this has been kind of a lost season. We're going in with a pretty fragmented roster. It's like maybe the best thing is to do nothing, sit on some of the young talent that we have, and just let's move into next year, just clean the slate. Maybe Tony retires. I don't know. Maybe he gets fired. Who knows? But it's like, I don't think you have to be super drastic. There could be some tweaks we make in the offseason, but it's like, I just wouldn't go crazy about this year.
Do you bring in Maddon? Is that
I like Maddon. I've always liked Joe Maddon. He'd be a steady figure just to have in that clubhouse. Somebody who knows Chicago, knows playoff baseball. He had a tough go with the Angels at the end of his Cubs run, but I mean, he's like Terry Francona to me. I mean, I think he's the kind of veteran leader and just a floor general you kind of need like in the clubhouse and kind of understanding how baseball players operate. So I think he'd be a great bridge guy. If not, then maybe we, dip into, a younger type of, player manager of the past. Maybe it's like a AJ Pierzynski type or, just somebody with a little bit of fire, just a little bit more
Ozzie.
I don't know if we want to. I mean, I can't even Ozzie, like I can't even understand him like half as much now as I did in 2005. Like I actually understood him in 2005, but I was like listening to him actually critique our team. I'm like, man, this guy, like I don't know, he's out of his mind on the Sox commentary in the studio or whatever. But yeah, man, I don't want to go down the Ozzie route again. I think either you go with a vet manager or you find somebody who can really relate to players, a younger guy who can kind of grow with us, who's got a little fire in their belly. I don't want to see Robin Ventura back in our dugout. He's literally like the worst manager I've ever seen. But yeah, man, the organization is a bit chaotic. It's not as chaotic as the other sports organization in the city of Chicago with the good old Bears, the monsters of the Midway. Wayne, I want you to kind of kick this one off, but I think you were the one who flagged to me that Roquan Smith has requested a trade. There's some other details that go along with it, but what do you think about Roquan and this whole story? What can you tell us? And then also, what do you think about Poles' decision to maybe not commit to Roquan? What do you think is in store for Chicago and kind of their player planning?
Yeah, so basically Roquan requested a trade, like put it out on his like social media and everything, saying like, oh, yeah, things we just can't align and everything. Like I love the Bears, I love Chicago and all that, but for whatever reason, yeah, we just can't do it. They're not. He believes he's worth more and everything. So it sounds like there's definitely a speculation, and who knows what words are true, but they're saying that like he's asking for basically the top paid inside linebacker or just linebacker in general in the NFL, and it's like what $20 million for a linebacker. It's like, is that really worth it? I think that's where a lot of people are going at, especially where the Bears where they're at right now. And it's like Roquan, yeah, great player, has definitely been a staple on our defense, but a lot of people were throwing the PFF rankings that he has. Like, he's all right. He's not that great. He's all right though. So yeah, Poles has been quoted and saying that they've offered a record-setting contract, and not exactly know what that means, and go into full details, whether it's like record-setting contract for a linebacker with regards to maybe guaranteed money versus annual payment and their salary. So he didn't get too specific there, but hey, if it's record setting for guaranteed, like, yeah, that's not a bad deal, Roquan. So, he's operating without an agent, which a lot of people have been like, maybe you should actually operate with an agent and go that route, at least for right now. So I think there's definitely been more of a push there of his lack of experience with regards to this, and maybe he was over in his head a little bit. So I think that's probably where it's going, and it sounds like everybody that knows football, that I think former scouts that I follow, for the Bears, or people that have manager experience for other NFL organizations, they've all been saying the kind of the same thing as like, Roquan doesn't have that leverage, but he has also stated that he wants to be a Bear. And also, it seems like Poles and the Bears want Roquan too. So I think what they're basically thinking is that there's way too much for both to lose for them not to have a deal, and for them to both get what they want to move forth, despite this, I guess, this Instagram post or whatever from Roquan of saying like, yeah, I just want to trade now. So, but yeah, and he just got removed from the PUP list today, actually. So, and I think the idea is that he would be fined also $40,000 a day he doesn't show up. I think Roquan's making right now, I think like $3 million, $3 to $4 million, I believe, for this coming season. So, hey, yeah, it's definitely a lot more money than both of us and everything. But at the same time, when you're talking about contracts for NFL players, like, hey, this still counts, especially if you're thinking, he's only going to be playing for maybe another decade, if most, right? For linebackers, right? So yeah, $40,000 a day. So if he shows up tomorrow, we're shooting this on a Wednesday night. So if Thursday night or if Thursday morning he shows up to practice, then this is all kind of forgotten. He's probably going to be signing a contract that is not the $20 million route. Probably, I think what a lot of people are saying, he's probably worth around $15 million, give or take a few there. So, but yeah, what are your thoughts, Pat? What do you think about Roquan? And, do you see him fitting in the future for the Bears? And do you think he's worth what he's asking for?
Yeah, I mean, I heard, at least on his contract, that a lot of it was backloaded, which is what kind of got him bothered, is that you're not giving me fair value today, and I'll be worth more in the future than what you're going to have for me backloaded in that deal. I guess from where I stand, we're so bad that we're going to just need as much depth and as much flexibility, I would say, with our spending and with what we're trying to do with our roster going forward, that even though Roquan Smith is an absolute stud, he's in his prime, he's 25 years old, he wants to be there, he's a clubhouse leader. I mean, he's got no marks against his record or anything like that. It's just like, professional or anything like that. So it's kind of, it's too bad to see a guy like that just kind of ushered out. And I'm not exactly sure what we can get for him in a trade too, because it's like when you got a guy who's on a contract year and this will be his first major contract, the team that gets him is going to have to pony up for that. But in the same sense, they're like, okay, we have to pay up for this guy, but in the same sense, that's going to cut the value that you get back. So it's like, what can we really expect? Is it a second rounder? Is it a second and a third? I mean, what could it really be? So it's a little frustrating to not know, I guess who's going to be left on our roster to make us like a viable football team for the next, 3 to 5 years. I mean, I'd imagine Roquan would have been a part of that strategy, but the other part of me just thinks like, this is Ryan Poles coming in year one, doing a lot of crazy things that, us traditionalists or, people that have watched the Bears for a while or just like watch football. It's like some of the stuff's a little head scratching. It's like, don't you want to build up the line? Like, don't you want to get your young quarterback some weapons this year? Don't you want to, sign a long-term extension to your top linebacker? Why is your, top defensive end pissed off and he wants out too now? It's just like, you got rid of the whole D line. Like, we're all confused. Like, what did you do at the draft? You got a couple secondary guys. Like, what's going on? Like, what are you doing, Ryan Poles? So again, like a Rick Hahn situation, I'm cool with just letting this play out this entire year. I think we are going to be behind the Jamal Williams led Lions, who's crying in the huddle about how, they hate being a 3-win team last year. I could see us being worse than the Lions this year, honestly. And, maybe we stink. We get, some high draft picks this year, this upcoming season, the next one after that. And then we also have the money. And I think that's what Poles is trying to do. He's trying to create like the most cap space in NFL history to just create his master plan. So while I'd hate to see Roquan leave, in my conclusion, I'm so intrigued by what Ryan Poles is doing, whether it's the smartest thing in the world or the most epic, string of failures that we'll find out in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I know Poles has always stated he wants to build through the draft. But then it's like, how much do you want to build through the draft? Do you want to get rid of all your players? Like, yeah. So that's definitely where, it's like, it's definitely this kind of almost a mixture of like the Bears are used to having also a middle linebacker. I feel like, every single year, every decade, there's always some sort of, linebacker that is as a stud. So, if we're going to just get rid of one and then, we're just going to see if we can get another one, just like draft another one and be totally fine, right? Maybe it is that easy for the Bears. I don't know. There's something in the water, the Bears, to get great linebackers, just like it is easy apparently for the Green Bay Packers to keep on getting really great Hall of Fame quarterbacks. So, if that is the case, then okay, maybe we just do that. And the linebacker position, modern day NFL, has been a little bit more devalued than in years past, just because lack of running and such now, with the devaluation essentially of running backs too. So there's a lot to be said, I guess, with regards to that and how the devaluation of the linebacker position has kind of hurt the Bears then the franchise if that's the case, but then also it hurts Roquan's value in terms of like, oh yeah, we can just get rid of you and you're totally replaceable. So you might as well just accept whatever, $10 million contract that we give you, if you really want to stay and really want to be part of a winning team. But, I think he has also stated that he doesn't want to also ruin the linebacker market. So it's like framing like he's trying to also stick for, maybe the NFLPA has kind of helped him out in this process and be like, yeah, man, you can't just be cheap for the Bears. So maybe there's all that, but if Roquan goes, it'll be sad. It honestly will be. I think he's a great player. He's probably our best player, honestly, right now. So, but they got rid of Khalil Mack. They got rid of a bunch of players. It seems It's like maybe he just wants to blow it up. And then I'm like, how can you win with Justin Fields, though? I think is the biggest question. How can you develop, even with whatever makeshift defense that you think Eberflus can put together? So I think all those are like, I don't know how the Bears can have a winning season going into the season with Justin Fields like developing and to be a legitimate starter. Week one, he's gonna be a starter type of player, and then also having like a formidable defense that can maybe push them forward so that they can maybe be around 500. I think is what a realistic Bears fan is hopeful for, but maybe not realistic in and of itself. So
yeah, I think to one of your points, I think maybe Poles has an idea of which positions are of most value and where he's willing to spend the most resources. So maybe he's already, figured out this master plan in his mind. Like, I'm going to go after top ends. I'm going to go after top corners. I'm going to go after, if Fields doesn't work out, I want to have money at the Q position. Maybe it's wide receivers, no tackle, whatever it is. I think he's got some sort of process. Maybe he's learned with the Kansas City Chiefs where he's like, this is how we're going to be successful down the road. So I'm willing to be patient. I'm willing to see it out. At my age, I don't think about the individual player. I always think about how the organization goes about stuff now. You want to trade our best player? That's all right. Tell me what we're getting back. Because if we're getting back some interesting stuff, I'm always down to listen. Whereas when I was a kid, would cry when I saw, Maglio or Donia showing the door or whoever else, stuff like that. But the only other point I would think is just from Poles' career and his ability to stay in a GM role, I think never really hurts to push the goalpost back a couple of years, never really hurts to be like, hey, we're going to suck for a while. Give me time. Because I feel like we've seen that with, the past administration. And then, just looking around the league, I feel like AJ Preller for the Padres made a bunch of trades for BJ Upton, all these other players. It didn't make sense then, but then the team sucked. He had to reboot, and he's like, just give me time. And that reboot took 5 years to get him to their current core. It's just so, I mean, maybe he's doing it. I would hate to say he is, but I'd go with point A, but I think, maybe there's some strategy there to moving the goalpost back for himself. But I just think it's gonna be a painful year in Chicago for sure.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards more painful than what we expect, or than what sometimes Bear Twitter I feel always says. Justin Fields is basically Jesus. He can do no wrong. Oh, look at this perfect spiral pass that he threw in training camp or something like that. It's yeah, that's expected. That's the bare minimum. This, I feel like Bears fans' standards are way too low. No, you need to be legitimate. This is basic stuff, and you also be needing to surround your quarterback and protect your quarterback. So I am very optimistic about Braxton Jones. It sounds like he's killing it at training camp. I think there's a lot of optimism. It sounds like he's going to be the starting left tackle opening day, basically, for the Bears. So I think I said that I liked him coming out of the draft. So we'll see if that is true and he actually does show up. But yeah, there's just a lot of things that I think need to go into the Bears for this season to be a winning season. I think I feel like a lot of Bears fans are they're going to win the Super Bowl or something like that. Or it's no, they're not. I will bet. Yeah. Whatever.
Who are these Bears fans?
I don't know.
Who are you talking to?
Who's he going to throw it to? You think Pringles is going to get 1,000 yards? You think I think they just play too much damn Maddon. No, come on, people, go. But I do like your point about, yeah, I don't buy jerseys anymore until they retire. I think that's the whole thing. Yeah. I bought the last Bears jersey, at least I bought, was Peanut Tillman. So I was like, okay, he's retired. Okay, he's done. All right, he spent that 1 year, I think, in Carolina, right? It's okay, now I'm gonna buy his jersey because he's an awesome player and awesome dude. So
yeah. I got an Alshon Jeffrey jersey for $18. He went to South Carolina. He was a Bear at one point, and I believe I got a Youth XL, which is a men's medium. So it's kind of funny. It's the funniest jersey, but $18, had to do it.
Yeah, no, there's a ton of that going around. It's how many seasons did Alshon play? I think did we trade him, or he signed with, I think it was the Eagles, after his rookie contract ran out for the Bears. So it's the NFL, honestly, as a GM, every player is disposable, and this previous offseason really kind of showed that. Like Russell Wilson, like he owned Seattle. Like he had, but they're like, hey, guess what? You know, we're not going to be going, you know, the Seahawks were like, we're not going to be going anywhere with your contract, taking up all the cap space and everything. And they got rid of him and his version of himself on the defensive end with Bobby Wagner in the same offseason. So yeah, there's no loyalty. This isn't a game. Well, it kind of is a game, but for a GM in the NFL, it's like they're all pawns. Like these are all pawns for everything I'm trying to do because I want a job. I want to keep this job, and in order to do that, I need to maneuver the cap space and plug holes and get value where I can. So yeah, I don't know. I'll be interested. I'll be sad to see if Roquan leaves, but honestly, it sounds like Poles too just wants to kind of get through this season and build up draft capital where he can. So yeah, I don't know.
I mean, speaking of pawns, we flip over to the NBA. It seems like Kevin Durant's trying to make the GM and the head coach pawns in his own game with owner Joe Tsai. I'm wondering if you've read up on any of this, the latest rumor sheet, I guess, on what Kevin Durant wants, where he wants to go, what's happening. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I feel like Kevin Durant, like he gave him an ultimatum, right? Like I feel like, this is kind of like dating or something like that. It's like it's either me or it's like your parents, or it's like either me or your friends or whatever. Like you have to choose. And it's like this doesn't look good on yourself. And this is not a good situation whatsoever. So yeah, he's stated like it's either me or Steve Nash and Sean Mark, right? It's like, well, I don't know what you want to do. And I think it's come to the point, I think the owner, right? Is it Joseph Tsai? I think he used to work for Alibaba or was like a former executive there. But it's come to the point where I think he tweeted out saying like, hey fans, like it's all good. It's all good. Nothing to, go crazy about. We're just might lose our best player or our head coach or our GM and all that. But I think, well, in my opinion, though, it's like, didn't Durant, didn't he choose this situation? Like, didn't he not choose Steve Nash? Like, I know they've had a really good relationship. So it's like, who are you? Like, we got everything you wanted. Now you're like, oh, I don't want to be here. So I don't know. It's like when you're dating someone, it's like, oh, I've done everything I wanted to. Like, I gave you everything. I took you out. I treated you up. But for whatever reason, you're putting up with all these ultimatums and all that fun stuff. So I don't know. It doesn't look good on Durant. I think if I'm Joseph Tsai, I'm like, to hell with you. Like, I'm just going to get rid of everybody and clean house again because apparently, nobody knows what they're doing or whatever. So, but yeah, I don't know. I hate to see Durant and his talent level, like his legacy kind of dwane down to like what it's been these past couple of seasons now, just of like drama, like where it doesn't really need to be, or like he's moving and jumping and he's trying to create teams. So yeah, it's kind of like, and then you see the Warriors just win the NBA championship too. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think the situation, it does not look good for Kevin Durant. Doesn't show leadership, doesn't show like he's a person that you build a team around, or he doesn't sound like he's showing the leadership. Shows he's just afraid, honestly. And I don't know. It is kind of sad. So, but yeah, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think that move, just kind of calling for the firings of Sean Marks and Steve Nash. I mean, I think that's all for show. I think he knows the answer would be no. He knows that would just like frazzle the owner. Obviously get under the skin of the GM and the head coach too, to make them like decide, okay, now we're trading you. But, kind of in the same way would like hurt his trade value because he's just like this huge, he's huge like problem, disruption, whatever. So I think he's just trying to lower his trade value to like get off the team. Teams, yeah, like not falling for his bluff. They're basically like, well, we got you on a 4-year deal. We want the highest value for you possible. And yeah, I just think the team that ends up getting him, if they're not, again, like the Golden State Warriors, not ready to win tomorrow, they don't have to give up like more than the majority of their core to get him, then that makes sense. But it's like just funny, like looking at the Celtics situation. We covered this in full in a past episode. But it's just like the Celtics would almost kind of seem foolish to make this move, like make the move, because it's like, look at the Golden State Warriors. You were right there. I think we said this in the last episode, but it's just like, I've heard the Nets have come down a little bit on their request. I think it was something like now it's Brown, Smart, and multiple picks. And I heard at one point they asked for Brown and Tatum for Durant. It's like, come on, man. Like this is just so stupid. So it's just like, I would just caution the Celtics, like, be smart, know what you have. Look what you did this offseason. You're building on a team that just went to the championship. And like, honestly, what are you getting back? Look, I like Durant as a player. Obviously, like, just a really elite scorer and everything else. But like at 33, with 4 seasons left, and it's like, what's he gonna look like? I mean, we did that whole breakdown, but it's like, yeah, just don't be stupid here. I think we're going to be hearing more of this as we kind of, finish out the summer here, going into, NBA training camp and everything like that. But just hope at some point a sensible trade comes to the surface. I don't want to see another Simmons situation this season where it's just like, okay, so then Durant's just like sitting out for half a year because he's upset. It's like just getting like tiring. And I know the next CBA they're going to probably make some crazy actions to get this stuff corrected, but that's pretty much all I have to say about that. I know we went into depth about it, but just kind of keeping up with the news updates. I was kind of having a good laugh about that today.
Yeah, this is just all comical. I really just hope that everybody just moves on. And yeah, I do not think I don't think Kevin Durant's going to win another championship for whatever reason. Just doesn't seem like he's going to go to a contender. They're not going to want him or whatever. And I don't know. It's really just hurting his legacy right now. Just kind of everything that's been happening. So, hopefully for the sake of his own career, he can find a better situation where it's not as, I guess, toxic for either that he's driving or that, other people might be driving. But it's like, yeah, for whatever reason, whenever he goes to a situation, he just can't be happy. I don't know, something there. So,
yeah. So. Ditto. Is there anything else you had in mind to kind of close out the show, or any like parting thoughts from what we covered?
Well, I do know there was a little bit of a spiff between Dejounte Murray and Paolo Banchero. I don't know what the hell is happening with these two, but they're like, there's a viral video, I think, of them jawing at each other like at some like pro-am or whatever. It's like, aren't these supposed to be fun? But I know they're like two Seattle people. I know it's kind of like King of the Hill thing over there, like the older statesman going against the young gun, trying to like show him what's up and everything, and showing like, hey, yeah, you need a little bit of work on your game and to rise up the hierarchy of all this. But yeah, curious your thoughts. What did you see on all this whole drama between these two? And like, is this all in fun, or do you think that's gonna go down like when the NBA season starts?
Yeah, the move was amazing. I don't know if you saw it, but like Dejounte put it, like, I guess Paolo was guarding him straight up, and Dejounte put the ball behind his back, kind of like had it posted on his back for a second. Paolo turns it around, and then like Dejounte does like one move or something, and just like dunks in his face and then starts jawing at him stuff. It's like, yeah, the context kind of matters with them going back to like Seattle. They're obviously like years apart, so I don't think they ever played each other in high school, but apparently in some of like their diss battle, basically Dejounte said like, you used to ask me if you could like rebound for me and stuff like back in the day, which is kind of like just another like insult to injury. And then like, I think Dejounte like defollowed Paolo on Instagram and then like Paolo like posted something on Instagram like, yo, this guy's a clown. Like he he stopped following me on Instagram, and like, why doesn't he just like come guard me one-on-one this year versus sending out like a bunch of backup like to help him out or something like that. So it's just like, I don't know, man. It's just like maybe one of those like little tiffs for the moment or something, but it seems like they actually have some history with each other, like good history. So it's like, maybe they're just like all wound up in the moment. And it seemed like at the end of it toward, some of the news reports I was reading is like Dejounte basically said like he's still rooting on Paolo to have like a great year. So he's just like, I don't get what all the beef's about. I think maybe he was just like jawing a little bit too much and it got out of hand, but yeah, I think they'll be fine. It was just kind of like funny to watch these videos and then some of the Instagram posts.
Oh, it's hilarious. Like this is what Instagram and like Twitter are all made for. It's just people to be trolling this whole situation. I think my favorite comparison was like, it was like, yeah, this is Dejounte Murray like at a practice or at a rec league or whatever. He's like, it's basically showing Pat Beverly, after the Timberwolves won that playing game, right? Kind of like, yeah, this is crazy. It's the best game ever. It's like, dude, this is just a pro-am, so whatever, So I definitely think it's funny. I think it's probably kind of for show a little bit, and just people having a good time jawing. But to your point, like at the end of the day, I think they were just both like, yeah, I'm cheering for him. I'm wishing the best. This thing might have got blown way out of proportion, but I think it's good fun for us fans. So looking forward to the season to start and for sure, and everything progress there. So, but
yeah. Only other parting thought I wanted to put out there is Aaron Judge hit his 45th home run tonight. It's August 10th. In a lot of our books, I think we're looking at 61 as the real number. Hoping somehow, some way, the Major League Baseball establishment can look at those records at some point in time. If Aaron Judge happens to get past 61, proven to be like not using any sort of performance enhancers, there's no cork in his bat, there's no juice ball situation or something like that, but like legitimately would have to like relook at that record and many records that have been held by, these proven steroid users who, again, we covered a lot of this in our last episode, but I just think it's something that I think baseball should shine a light on and kind of make better. The Astros getting, the chance to keep their trophy was really disheartening, I thought. Obviously, there was no suspensions for any single player because they gave information, which is just incredible. It's just, there's so many black eyes on the game that as a fan, it's like, this could be just such a monumental, fun year. And just to make it kind of more legitimate than just like when he actually may get to that 60+ number, it's not just like, oh, well, he finished 5th of all time in a single season. It's like, we should really be like impressed that this kid could like put a year together like he has, especially in the second half where he's just double-digit home runs in like only like 20 games or something. It's like pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he's always been big, right? Maybe it's the whole like Frank Thomas thing, right? So it's like, wasn't like Frank Thomas like 250 or whatever like in college because he played football? So I'm sure I think they do more rigorous testing, right, with regards to steroids and all. So, but it definitely give Aaron Judge the benefit of the doubt here with regards to all that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he can do that. Especially as a Yankee. And hey, if they make it to the World Series, win it all, like hit 60+ home runs, that's an incredible year. So hey, if he hits 60, you'll probably win MVP or something like that, right? So if he can do all that for the Yankees, man, he's this guy. He's not that he's not already a star, but that's just an amazing accomplishment, I think. Especially in New York. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a Yankee fan, but I'll be rooting him on because I think he is a good guy. I think he's playing the game pretty clean, if I had to guess. Like you said, tall in stature, very, very strong as an individual. It's just like, let's just see if he can do it. He's got a really great chance here, so I'm going to be excited to watch him down the stretch.
Yeah, and he actually has a career high 11 stolen bases this season. So
look at that, man. He's playing baseball. I love it.
Yeah,
So I guess with that, great episode. We covered the big three in our sports, which we rarely do. Hopefully we can just keep this going, sometime into this week or next. But with Wayne Pua, I'm Patrick Miller signing off for the Ball and Breakfast podcast.